In the often dark and thunderous world of heavy metal, one man stands above the rest, the godfather of the genre himself, Tony Iommi, the legendary guitarist of Black Sabbath. He didn't just help create heavy metal music, he also sparked rivalries and made some very powerful enemies along the way. Born in Birmingham, England, Iommi gave the world unforgettable classics like Paranoid and Iron Man. He was known for his uncompromising vision, his sharp opinions, and his refusal to tolerate what he viewed as imitation or fakery in music. Everyone else played the conventional way, he once said, but I had to find a completely different approach. Behind the crushing riffs and ominous lyrics was a man who worked relentlessly to craft something unique. Iommi didn't simply dislike certain bands, he often despised what they represented. To him, copycats and commercial sellouts were the greatest threat to the authenticity of metal. And over the years, he developed a list of enemies that included some of the biggest names in rock history. Today, we're looking at 6 bands that Tony Iommi reportedly hated the most. Rivalries that weren't minor disagreements, but feuds that shaped the entire landscape of heavy metal. At number 6 is a rivalry that split fans of heavy music straight down the middle. Deep Purple, the British rock legends behind Smoke on the Water, reportedly became one of Iommi's earliest adversaries in the fight over who truly invented heavy metal. The tension began in the early 1970s, when both Black Sabbath and Deep Purple were hailed as pioneers of the new heavy sound. According to music writer Malcolm Dome, Iommi once told friends at a Birmingham pub, "Deep Purple think they invented heavy music, but they're just a blues band that got louder. We were the ones who made it truly heavy and dark." What especially irritated Iommi was Deep Purple's claim to being the genre's founders. To him, Sabbath's dark, crushing riffs were the true blueprint for metal, while Purple's sound, colored by John Lord's organ, was closer to loud blues rock. By 1973, he reportedly told a journalist, "There's a big difference between playing loud and playing heavy. They play loud rock. We created something completely new." For Iommi, Deep Purple symbolized bands who took credit for innovations they didn't truly create. Sliding into number 5 is perhaps the most shocking rivalry of all, Led Zeppelin, one of the biggest rock bands in history. The friction reportedly began in the early 1970s, when Zeppelin's massive commercial success far outshone Sabbath's more underground reputation. According to journalist Chris Welch, Iommi once grumbled to studio musicians, "Led Zeppelin just copies old blues songs and makes them louder. They get called innovative, but they're just thieves with better marketing." What stung the most was Zeppelin's superstar status compared to Sabbath's struggle for respect. While Iommi was pioneering truly new territory, Zeppelin's fame grew from what he dismissed as stolen blues with fancy production. He especially resented the praise showered on Jimmy Page's guitar work. "Page plays the same blues scales everyone knows," he reportedly said. "I created something darker and completely different." To Iommi, Zeppelin epitomized style over substance, rock stars who reaped the rewards while leaving the true inventors in the shadows. At number 4 comes a clash that seemed inevitable: Kiss, the American band famous for their makeup, costumes, and explosive stage shows. In the mid-1970s, when Kiss mania swept America, Iommi was reportedly appalled. According to journalist Jeff Barton, he told friends in a studio, "Kiss have turned heavy music into a circus act. They care more about their makeup than their music. It's embarrassing to call that heavy metal." What pushed him over the edge was how American magazines began labeling Kiss as metal pioneers. To Iommi, this was a complete betrayal of what metal represented. While Sabbath built the genre from real darkness and grit, Kiss relied on theatrics and merchandising. In 1976, he bluntly told a British journalist, "Real heavy metal comes from the soul, not from a costume department." To him, Kiss turned metal into Halloween music for children, a travesty of the serious, authentic art form he had created. Coming in at number 3 is a feud that hit close to home: Judas Priest, fellow British icons of metal. The rivalry reportedly began in the mid-1970s, when Judas Priest began gaining recognition as heavy metal's true standard bearers. According to historian Martin Popoff, Iommi told musicians, "Priest learned everything from us, then acted like they invented it. They're just copying what we did first, but with more leather and screaming." What annoyed him most was Priest's polish. Their twin guitar style and Rob Halford's soaring vocals seemed like a more refined version of Sabbath's blueprint. By 1978, he told a magazine, "We created heavy metal from nothing. They just polished what we already made." To Iommi, Judas Priest symbolized the painful truth of students surpassing their teachers, without giving due credit to the originators. At number 2 is a generational clash, Iron Maiden, the spearhead of the new wave of British heavy metal. Bursting onto the scene in the late 1970s, Iron Maiden energized younger fans with speed, technicality, and complex song structures. To Iommi, it all felt like a distortion of his vision. "These new bands think speed and complexity make better metal," he reportedly said. "They've forgotten that metal is supposed to be heavy, not fast. Maiden sounds like rock on speed?" What upset him even more was Maiden's quick rise to dominance. By the early 1980s, they were outselling Sabbath, and younger fans often considered Maiden the future of metal. Iommi allegedly bristled, "Real metal doesn't need to be fast to be powerful. They've confused energy with heaviness." For him, Iron Maiden represented a generation turning away from Sabbath's doom-laden grooves toward what he saw as flashy but hollow athleticism. At the very top of the list is the ultimate betrayal, Metallica, the kings of thrash metal. The feud began in the early 1980s, when Metallica's aggressive breakneck sound transformed the metal world. According to journalist John Wiederhorn, Iommi told studio engineers, "Metallica have destroyed everything we built. They've turned heavy metal into noise. There's no groove, no soul, just speed for the sake of speed." What enraged him most was how Metallica's approach became the new gold standard. By the 1990s, Metallica had become the biggest metal band in the world, overshadowing Sabbath's legacy. To Iommi, thrash wasn't true metal at all. It was punk rock, with distorted guitars pretending to be metal. He believed Metallica had twisted his dark, heavy creation into video game music, robbing metal of its soul. And there you have it, the 6 bands that reportedly made Tony Iommi's blood boil. Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, Kiss, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, and Metallica. For Iommi, these weren't petty rivalries. They were about protecting the soul of heavy metal, a genre he believed he had forged with his own blood, sweat, and riffs. To him, many of these bands either stole credit, commercialized the music, or twisted it beyond recognition. Love him or hate him. Tony Iommi's uncompromising vision kept the heart of heavy metal alive, and his grudges, as much as his riffs, shaped the genre we know today.